This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, welcome to the Mailbag on this 29th day of March 2025. Apologies for the delay this week with the Mailbag. I went on a bit of a impromptu couple of day vacation with the family, but we're back and obviously couldn't record. But I have a lot of emails to get through. I don't really know if I'm going to get through them all. I asked and I did receive from those of you on Patreon especially, and if you want to join Patreon, it's a good reason to do that, not just because everything's ad-free, but also because you get a priority placement in the Mailbag. So if you're not a patron and you don't hear your email or voicemail on this show, I will try to get to it tomorrow night on the Weekend Review, but no promises. I really will do my best. I really do try because you guys take the time out of your day to email and call, and you don't have to do that, obviously, and I'm trying to give you your time here on the show. But it is the thick of WrestleMania season. We now have, I don't know the number of days, 3 weeks and change until WrestleMania, which is just crazy. I'm over March, though, I have to say. March is just one of the worst months of all time because it's, number one, it's a 31-day month, right? Number two, it's right at the end of winter, and we get a couple of warm days, and then we get 2 more weeks of cold and rain, and then it's mud, and then you get another nice day of 70 degrees up here. It's just the worst. You're ready for just everything to be over with and just get into warm weather and shorts and barbecues, and we're still 2 months from that at minimum up here. So it's just the worst, I have to say. I dislike spring more than I dislike winter or any other time of the year because you're already just fatigued from the season. When you're in winter, it's a winter. You're okay, fine, I can deal with the snow. But I don't know. All right, so let's get to it. Let's jump into the Mailbag. Enough of my ranting about just nonsensical stuff. Let's start with a patron. Let's start with Matt. And he says, I used to write in every single week, but life's been so busy. I'm glad I can finally write in again. I heard you talking about Chad Gable and as El Grande Americano, and people being offended by it. That's such a joke. Wrestling fans have always said how they want the Attitude Era or Ruthless Aggression Era back, but there's no way these crybabies today could handle half of what WWE was back then. Love the show. Hope you had a good weekend. Thank you, Matt, and you as well. Here's what I say about WWE. Now, it's true. If you took the Attitude Era stuff and shoved it into today's culture, I think, number one, a lot of people would love it. It'd be refreshing, right? I think a lot of people would feel that way. But the sponsors of WWE would lose their minds and drop WWE as a sponsor. You would have a lot of activist groups after WWE and losing their minds. Social media would be split all over the middle. I think it would be split down the middle. I really do. But here's what I think would happen is WWE would probably revert back to what they were today. Or what they were. They could not survive today with what they were presenting back then. Also because they were a private company back in the Attitude Era. They weren't beholden to shareholders and stockholders and a ton of sponsors that cared so much about their content as much as they did about ratings and revenue and all that. But WWE is always a reflection of the culture. So today, WWE, they went back to PG to get a long-range audience. You're going to try to get the kids into it, which then they grow up, and you then start to introduce them maybe to an edgier product like they did back in the Attitude Era. We're not Attitude Era-esque stuff, but there are shades of it, and we are not in a PG era anymore. TV PG is all but dead. And so the WWE back then would not survive today, but it's because it's a sign of the times. It's a sign of culture. We're always evolving as a culture, for better or worse. And every generation thinks they're better than the past generation. Everybody thinks they're more enlightened than the previous generation. It's just, it's all perspective and everything else. It's just, you have to look at it through that lens of it's really a mirroring of what the current culture is in America today, or in the world, because they're much more of a global company than they've ever been. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see some of that stuff. Imagine Triple H going into a funeral home. Remember that feud with Kane? Do I need to say what happens after that? The funeral home with Triple H in the casket. I'll leave it there. Katie Vick. Let's see what else. Some other stuff. Stephanie being forced to marry the Undertaker. Austin being crucified on a Undertaker symbol that was very much like the, akin to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. I mean, there's so many things. So many things. The treatment of women. Imagine they just go back to, like, they have a Monday night, they have a announcement, there's a bra and panties match. Imagine, between Jade Cargill and Naomi, they've changed it to a bra and panties match. I mean, there's going to be a gravy bowl fight. You know, we're going to have the Godfather come out and refer to all the women he's bringing out as hoes. I mean, again, we all cheered it. We all cheered it. We all loved it because it was a sign of the times. It was a sign of the culture and the pop and the the demographics that were their core audience. So, all right. Thank you. Let's go to Darren, another patron. He says, "Hey, WWE podcast family, I like your idea of having the winner of Seth, Roman, and Punk get a title shot against the winner of Cena and Cody, maybe at Backlash. If they do this, I think I would book it like this. CM Punk wins the triple threat and John Cena beats Cody. That way, we can get the Punk-Cena program. Also, if Cena ends up losing, how would The Rock ever get someone else to join forces with him? It would kind of diminish The Rock's power, and we could get Seth versus Roman by itself. Also, them blaming each other for Punk winning the triple threat, along with the other history, of course. The only thing with this is, what would Cody do after losing the title? Let me know what you think." Man, so much here, Darren. I'm going to try not to spend 20 minutes on this answer because you just opened Pandora's box about this triple threat, which I've been hammering for several weeks now. And I've been critical of it because there's nothing on the line. And there remains nothing on the line. Again, I'm very understanding that this could change in a moment. We could get an announcement on Raw that there's something on the line. We could get an announcement on SmackDown. We could get the announcement the day of before the match has started. We could. Absolutely. But if this is going to be the final match with no stipulation, it's just pride. It's just, who's the better man? I'm opposed to it. Unless there is still a long-term plan of why the winner wins and what they get. Other than just, hey, we don't know what to do with these three, and Punk's never main evented WrestleMania, so there's that going for this match. And, you know, there's three big names. What more can you ask for? It's going to be a good match. It's like, no. WrestleMania is the culmination of a storyline or the beginning of a really big one, and hopefully that's what we're seeing here is the beginning of something big with these three. And here's the other thing. I put this out, and I'm not the first one to come up with it. I know some people are saying that, you know, you didn't, and I'm not saying I did, but I like to pass on good ideas. And the good idea is for Paul Heyman to be put on the line for the favor of what CM Punk says he owes him. So what some people are suggesting beyond the obvious one of the winner of this match is the number one contender for Cody's championship or for the WWE Undisputed Championship if whoever wins that match, which is still a valid possibility and one that's very logical, is that CM Punk wants his favor to be that he leaves Roman Reigns and becomes his sole wise man. And then Roman Reigns Paul Heyman's put in a precarious position. But again, Paul Heyman can't compete. He's just he's a mouthpiece, a talented one, maybe the best to ever do it. So I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but Paul Heyman can't have a match here. So if that's Punk's favor, I don't quite understand that one because, well, I just said I liked it, and I do because it's intriguing of what is Paul going to do, and does that Roman turn heel again, and or does Punk turn heel? But logically, why does Punk need a wise man? Why does Punk need assistance at this point in his career? I mean, what is the benefit here? You're not a youngin'. You're not a rookie needing some kind of boost, some kind of mouthpiece. CM Punk certainly doesn't need a mouthpiece. So I don't understand that if that is going to be. That's the one big problem I have, is if Punk does make that the make that the favor that Paul Heyman owes him, why? Just to spite Roman? Are we really having a schoolgirl fight over Paul Heyman? It's kind of weird. Like, he can still serve as both men if need be. I don't know. It does sound like a good idea, but I much rather would see the number one contender come out of this match. I really would. But if Cody does lose the title, he goes into chase mode. That's all. He'll get his rematch. He'll lose. Cena will go on a 6-month run with that belt. I mean, we could have easily Randy Orton turn on Cody. I know that Randy Orton targeted Cody. We'll talk about that tomorrow night much more in detail. He didn't attack Cody, but he just said, I'm eventually going to be coming for you. But if John Cena loses or wins that belt at WrestleMania and Cody loses, then Randy Orton is not going to target Cody unless he has the championship. So that kind of goes out the window. You could have Cody Rhodes work with Roman Reigns again, I guess, but in more of a teammate fashion. There's options there for Cody. Drew McIntyre is certainly one of them. I want Drew to become a much bigger factor than he already is at WrestleMania, which is really not a massive one. But one big hole, this is the last thing I'll say, and I'll move on, because I told you I could continue on this, is where the hell is The Rock in all of this conversation? Where is he? He's been mentioned once, quickly, by Cody, from the very first promo post his beating at the Elimination Chamber PLE. Why isn't John Cena, if we only have one more appearance from him before WrestleMania, which is apparently what's going to happen? That's apparently the schedule right now is John Cena appears on Monday Night Raw in 2 nights, and then we don't see him till WrestleMania. Maybe there's a pre-taped promo. We could get maybe something from via satellite, but in terms of him actually being physically at Raw, apparently that's his final one. Now, I'll have to check his SmackDown schedule, but if that is indeed his final appearance live, it's going to be disappointing, I have to say. But where is The Rock? He's the straw that stirred the drink, and we haven't heard jack, what about it. Why? I don't care. We all know The Rock's going to be sparingly on TV. We know that. But what is the fact? What was the play that The Rock made to Cena? What did The Rock say to Cena to push him over the edge? I know Cena's taking full responsibility for this, but fine. Why did you team with The Rock? Why did you take essentially orders from The Rock at Elimination Chamber? What did he say or do for you? And also, why isn't Cody also talking about The Rock a little more? And I mean, there's a massive hole in the story of The Rock. One of the biggest stars ever in WWE, who's now involved in a major storyline in a non-wrestling role, but has a big effect on the main event of WrestleMania still. How is this possible? So I'm sure we'll get a little bit more of what The Rock didn't do in terms of the story at WrestleMania or after, before, or whatever. But it's just the last few weeks since the Chamber, it's been kind of radio silence about The Rock. How are we ignoring The Rock? So, and now we have confirmed that there is no women's championship match main eventing WrestleMania. There's no world title main eventing WrestleMania, or in terms of the world title anyway, with Gunther and Jay. And that's kind of disappointing for those that did care about such things in the order of the matches. So, once again, this storyline, the Bloodline storyline, is taking over both main events of WrestleMania 2 years in a row. It's incredible. Dare I say 3? 3 years in a row? Because, wait, last year, we know what happened with the tag team match with Roman and Cody and Seth. But then we had the year before, wasn't it Kevin and Sammy versus the Usos for the tag titles, and they beat the Usos? And then night 2 on WrestleMania 39 was Cody and Roman. And now, so 6 straight WrestleMania main events, again, 3 years, but we're just moving into 2 main events for WrestleMania. Fine. 6 main events straight, 3 years in a row straight of bloodline-related stories at WrestleMania for the main events. That's incredible. I mean, as a fan, I want to be frustrated by it and feel bad for the other guys and gals, and part of me does. But the other part of me is kind of like understanding that this has been the biggest storyline that WWE's produced in quite some time, and they've evolved it enough every year to make you interested in the outcomes and done a great job, especially last year. So, just a little factoid. If you are angry about Jay and Gunther, which, I mean, you know what? I'll save that for tomorrow night. That'll be a tomorrow night thing because tonight's the mailbag. Okay. So, let's go to the next patron. Let's go to Dino. Been a while, Dino. So, he says, your quick Raw review, and you're not happy about it. So, to say the least, it was BS. A very average Raw. No Joe Hendry. No Drew McIntyre. No Gallus. Nothing burger promo from Punk. I would agree with that. That was an absolute just, you got a burger, you got a bun with nothing in the middle. I mean, it was just bread. Nothing of substance. It was totally forgettable. I agree. Now, the only thing that would have been worse is Punk nobody showed up from that triple threat. So you at least got an appearance. A lousy 2-minute cameo appearance by Cody Rhodes. A somewhat rinse and repeat promo by Cena, Rhea, Bianca, and Io with just different words, especially in the case of Cena and Rhodes. I would agree. We also got this big thing and that big thing is happening next week treatment with the contract signing and special referee match. They're in love with the city of London, and also continues, I swear if WWE could marry the city of London, they probably would. I don't understand it. Not like they get all the big stars, but why do they get 2 shows? The rest of us in Europe got 1. Well, here's what I think they're doing. Number one, London has been a very popular city to WWE, just seemingly isn't in a big love fest with, but they're targeting London for WrestleMania. Perhaps WrestleMania 43. So it's happening, and I think it'll be in London. And to top it off, a terrible ending. Yeah, I would agree. This is why I'm no longer paying several $100 for a ticket anymore. I've proven myself right. Even house shows over here are now like £200, which is 258 American dollars. That's insane. That's insane. For a house show? What? When just a few years ago, it was about 90 American dollars, 70 pounds. Yet we always get a big nothing burger of a show when they come here, but it's always hyped up to be something special, and it never is. Even the PLEs here are just an average random B show, PLE, probably the American equivalent of a Payback or something, except with cheap seat WrestleMania-like prices. When people will realize this, I don't know, I have my doubts. They never will, because too many people have more money than sense, going by the evidence of ticket sales. But hey, if you paid the 997 pounds, 1,288 American dollars for ringside seats for this past Monday, I hope it was worth every penny. If not, then don't be so bloody gullible next time. Last thing I'll say is that this has got to be one of the worst builds to WrestleMania ever, or at least in several years anyway. A pretty scathing assessment of this past week, but guess what? I don't care. Over and out. I like that. See, I like the I don't care attitude. It means you're sticking by your guns, and it just is what it is. I like that. There's a lot of shows in wrestling podcast world, even in wrestling video land and YouTube, that are so apologetic about the product. They just, they don't like anyone that's negative or critical about the product. I have no vested interest. You have no vested interest. We are a paying customer, and we can say whether we like or don't like something we're paying for. So, let me just say this about the reason I think your ticket prices are so high. Because they can be. Because they know you're not a normal city that they run through. And the expenses to go overseas are a lot higher for the company with bringing all their equipment. There's extra prices that they have to pay for, renting the building. It's just a more expensive place for WWE to set up a live event. And so when you put all that together, what they've done is simply pass the cost onto you guys, knowing you'll pay for it. Because, and like you said, the ticket sales, you guys did. A $1,300 American dollar ticket for ringside at Raw, unless it was pre-advertised that, Stone Cold was coming back and we got a massive match and we got, The Rock's going to be there. Like, that's absurd, but people paid it. And if they know they can get you to pay it, they're going to continue to charge you for it. Again, on top of the fact that it is more expensive for the company to travel there. So they do what a lot of companies do when expenses get higher. They pass the cost of the process, cost of getting that service or product to you onto the consumer. So I like it. Thank you, Dino. Let's continue here. Let's go to DJ. He says, with just 3 weeks until WrestleMania and a few matches that have been announced, is having a 2-night WrestleMania worth it anymore? Because from my opinion, the card so far doesn't look that exciting to me outside of the 2 triple threat matches and Cody versus Rhodes. I'm sorry, Cena versus Rhodes. Yeah, he can't face himself. I'm starting to lose interest in the build to Flair versus Stratton because in their recent segment on SmackDown, Flair, in my opinion, straight up made Stratton look inferior and a complete novice, even though she's the current women's champion. I would like to think that Flair is going to win the title, even though the crowd seems to be somewhat annoyed with her. But then when Stratton loses, where does she go from there? Yeah, I mean, there's a clear line drawn between a veteran and a rookie. We saw it last week. I'm okay with that happening every once in a while. You know why? Fans forget quickly. Tiffany can bounce back, and it's good for her. It's good for her to be uncomfortable and feel like she got creamed in that promo that was clearly partially scripted. A lot wasn't. And she saw that it bothered her and she got a little flustered. That's good. That's something that you learn from a lot more than you do from a sheet that you memorize perfectly backstage. It forces you to try to get better. It forces you to up your game. When you get humiliated like that on television and you're the champion and some veteran comes on and just eviscerates you, that is the best learning tool that you can possibly deliver to anybody. It's embarrassing. It did hurt her a little bit, but it didn't kill her career, and it should do nothing but ignite Tiffany Stratton and ignite a fire under Tiffany and force her to just be better, up her game, study, improve her promos. In ring, she's got it. It's the promos, which always are the sticking point for a lot of people. It's not easy. But if Stratton loses, she'll be fine. Fans are behind her. They were behind her before she was champion. I'm not worried about it, but the build has been beyond the evisceration that really the ass kicking that Charlotte gave Stratton last week. It felt like she was an adult and Stratton was a child. I mean, that was kind of the dynamic that I felt anyway. But Stratton will be fine. And the build has not been great. We have 2 Royal Rumble winners that are not going to main event WrestleMania. So I know that there's been other examples in the past of main events of the main event not being the winners of the Rumble. So this isn't something unprecedented. But if I hear again that it's the winners of the Royal Rumble for the men and women are going to each main event WrestleMania, I never want to hear that again because it's a lie. They may. So what they should just rephrase it to is, we'll earn a title opportunity at WrestleMania, because that's true 100% of the time, barring injury. But I never want to hear again that person that wins the Rumble for the men or the women guarantee themselves a spot in the main event of WrestleMania. I never want to hear that phrase again, especially after this year. Again, I know there's other examples, a number of them in the past. I understand that. But it made it especially clear this year. Okay, at this point, does it really matter if a wrestler wins the Rumble and then does not main event WrestleMania? Because Rhea won the 2023 Rumble and didn't main event against Charlotte. And then last year, Bayley won and didn't main event against Io at WrestleMania 40. The same thing will happen at this year's WrestleMania with Jay and Charlotte not main eventing, although they won the Rumble. It seems like the creative team under Triple H focuses more on furthering the conclusion of a major story to main event of WrestleMania than some average feud or Royal Rumble accomplishment. Well, Triple H did say, and it stuck with me during his post-interview for the Chamber that was just highly acclaimed and rightfully so, great PLE, that those who are in the main event of WrestleMania earn that spot. It's still open. And based on performance, based on crowd reaction, those who perform the best and get the best reaction get put in that spot. And I can't blame him for doing what he's doing, putting those two main events in the spots that they are in. I can't. The Jay and Gunther match certainly does not deserve a main event WrestleMania spot because it has not been a very good build. It's been an okay build. It's been okay. And Charlotte and Tiffany, no, I would agree. I see why he's doing it. I guess my whole issue with this, again, you just provided two examples among many. Io and Bayley last year, Rhea and the 2023 Rumble. Right, fine. Again, my issue is that their phrasing of saying that the winners guarantee themselves a main event spot at WrestleMania should never be used ever again. Never. Because again, that all implies that the matches for the titles that they choose are going to be the main event of WrestleMania every time, and it's not. That's my issue. One last thing. I hope Creative decides to have Io retain the women's title at WrestleMania because in my opinion, she's been tossed aside amongst this potential triple threat of her, Rhea, and Bianca. It seems to me that Rhea and Bianca will continue to feud against each other after WrestleMania, and you'll get your dream one-on-one match and probably a series of 3 matches, with the last one being at the Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. Plus, if you haven't noticed, the international crowds have been booing Bianca quite often, while Rhea gets mommy chants and Io gets heavily supported with cheers. I wonder how the crowd in the States will react to Bianca when the WWE returns to the States after next Monday. That's is going to be such an interesting observation is what do the crowds in the States do? I've been saying that too. Because we've been in La La Land for the past couple of weeks in this overseas tour. We've been in this kind of like other universe, this alternate reality. And when they come back to their reality, home base, does it differ or is it just more muted in the crowd reactions, which it's going to be. The crowds overseas always put us to shame, but is it the same type of reaction, just a little muted, or is it totally different? That's going to be an interesting thing to watch happen and play out. But yeah, I do want Rhea and I do want Bianca. That's been my dream match for a while, for a couple of years now. They continue to tease it, and now we have a presumed triple threat that we all know is probably going to be the end result. And they keep pushing Io aside. I'm with you. I want her to retain. Absolutely. I want Io to retain her championship. Do I think they'll do it? I don't know. I'll save my predictions for the week of WrestleMania, but yeah, they booed Bianca. That's certainly something I'm going to keep an eye on if the States do the same. I don't know if the fans are organically turning her heel. If they're finding her annoying now that she's back in the singles role, are they ready for her to turn heel and they're making it clear to the company they want her to turn Bianca heel? We'll see. I think WWE is going to wait to do anything drastic to see what the States' reactions are, right? It's consistency in the reaction for Bianca that they're going to be more influenced than by a couple of weeks overseas. All right. Thank you, DJ. We'll get to that Joe Henry report. Maybe in this show, maybe not. We'll see. I don't know yet. All right. I did get, just so you know, guys, I did get several, like a lot. When I say several, a lot of response to the SmackDown fill-in for April. Those few shows in April that our host Amanda is going to be out for on holiday. So we have several. I'm going to be making my selection soon, and everybody who has taken the time to actually write me and express interest, I do appreciate it. Taking the time to send me an audio sample, thank you. And if I don't select you, again, and most of you who hear me won't, because there's only one person I can choose for a few weeks to do this, it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means that I went with somebody that I thought would be the best fit. That's all. That's it. So I appreciate everybody who did send in I guess their resumes. That sounds more official, right? Okay. Let's get to those of you on a little bit more on Patreon here. Continue. Let's talk to, let's see here. Oh, I don't know if this is supposed to be on the mailbag from Miller from South Africa. I don't think it was meant to be, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. He says, I've been thinking about doing, or have always been thinking about doing a bracket competition style thing. For example, best male wrestler ever, best female wrestler ever, best match ever, maybe like every 2 months. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, it's just time. I don't mind that. If you're saying, are you saying I have a show on those topics, or rather it's a bracket style voting from those of you who are on Patreon? I guess I need a little more clarity, but I do like the concept of either. All right, let's talk to Jeff on Patreon. And he says, hey, WWE friends, sorry for the long email. It's not really that long, Jeff. Trust me. You've heard some of them. My God, this is not that long. Don't worry about it. But I have to rant a little. Well, rant away. I'm sitting on the couch, or you sit on the couch, and I'll charge by the hour. I'm not sure how you feel, but I feel like this is by far the most underwhelming build to WrestleMania I've seen in a very long time. There's 3 weeks until Mania, and only 6 matches are announced. We know there's going to be more matches announced, but why wait 3 weeks till Mania to finalize them? We'll most likely get 2 tag team championship matches, hopefully a U.S. title match with LA Knight and Jacob Fatu, an intercontinental title match, probably a 3 or 4-way with Dom, Finn, Penta, and Braun Breaker. What about the 2 female titles they do nothing with? The build-up with Cena and Cody is boring. I love how Cena is acting, but Cody is killing the whole thing, not in a good way. He's all talk. He talks a lot of crap and doesn't back it up. Him and his stupid suits. I really like Cena. I really hope he does win, and it would be great for the company. Bianca needs to be a heel or go away. I know people love her, but she's becoming a bit of old news. Charlotte and Tiffany is what it is. Tiffany should retain, but we all know WWE is going backwards and going to make Charlotte match her dad in title reigns. And finally, the Jay versus Gunther match. Everyone loves Jay, but like you said, this match makes no sense. I have been a huge Jay fan, and I hope he wins. I'm just afraid if he wins the title, it's going to mean absolutely nothing. I could see Punk's favor being getting Jay to defend his title against him. Sorry for the long rant, but being a wrestling fan like you since 96, 97, I've seen tons and tons of builds to Manias, and this is by far the worst. It's hard to say this is the worst. If you've been watching since 97, 96, 97, so okay, even at best, you're a year more experienced in watching wrestling than I am. But that means you've been watching since what, WrestleMania 13? I've been watching since WrestleMania 14. Again, depending on what time of the year you watch. So you're going, well, you're almost on 30 years of watching wrestling. You're creeping up on 30 years. It's really hard to think about 30 years of builds and definitively say this is the worst. Our memories are not that good. At least mine isn't. I'm trying not to knee-jerk reaction to this, that this is the worst build. It is a weird build, no doubt about it. It's been weird, and I think a lot of that has to do, too, with big stars coming in and then big stars leaving. There's no momentum. You get a big appearance from Cena. He does something big. He beats up Cody, and then there's like a 3-week lag. And then Cody doesn't attack Cena after everything he did to him. He just says, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the real John Cena, and then leaves. That made no sense. Yet he attacks The Miz on a knee-jerk reaction from The Miz didn't do anything to him. Yet John Cena humiliates him, bloodies him at WrestleMania, or I keep saying at WrestleMania, at Elimination Chamber, and he doesn't attack John Cena. That made no sense. Now there's no mention of The Rock, like he doesn't exist. It's weird. They're hot and cold and left and right, and it's enough to keep me interested, but it's weird. It's hard to follow. Now, I am a big fan that builds should be as big as possible to WrestleMania. I mean, they're basically marketing to us and the general public right now. Like, this is their marketing campaign to get people to watch the event, to watch WrestleMania, to purchase the subscription to Peacock. We are watching marketing. That's what it is. And right now the marketing is weird. I wouldn't say it's the worst because I'd have to go back and watch all the other builds. But here's what I care about more than even the builds. Execution. And after WrestleMania, how do I feel? Am I going, oh, okay, the build wasn't great, but man, this was a great show. I can't tell you how many times I feel like I've said that, not just in past years' WrestleManias, but in the past couple of years of Triple H's regime. The builds to the PLEs, they always haven't been great, really good at a boiling point. And then yet we come out of the shows and going, wow, that was awesome. For example, the build to the Elimination Chamber. I don't remember anyone going in going, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. This PLE is going to be the best thing I've ever seen, the best PLE that we've seen in the Triple H regime. I didn't see anybody really saying that. I wasn't saying it. And yet we come out of the show and going, wow, that was awesome. So in the end, I don't really care so much about the build because it's all about the result. How did we feel coming out of it? Was it the right decision? How was the match quality? Any big surprises, big returns, big title changes? That's what we care about. The build is fun, and ideally, we want the build to match our anticipation for the event and to match the execution that we hope is at a top-tier level. But that doesn't always happen. It's not always something that's going to happen. What I'd rather have is a weird to bad build and then a kick-ass PLE because it'll erase the build. You don't care anymore about the build. The build is in the past. It's what did you deliver that people will remember. So to me, the execution is much more important than the build. But the build is, it's long. And so we're judging the build right now. We're judging the marketing right now. It's all we can because we don't know what's going to happen yet. But generally, yeah, this is again, it's weird. It's lackluster, but then sometimes you get excited. Cena appears. He cuts heel promos, but no Rock. That's weird. We have a triple threat that doesn't have anything seemingly at stake right now. That's also main eventing WrestleMania now. We have a world title match with Gunther and Jay that has been just flatline in terms of build. Tiffany and Charlotte, as we just mentioned, has been also kind of ho-hum. But they can't fire on all cylinders all the time. You could be, anybody listening to the sound of my voice could be put in full control of the rest of the build to WrestleMania, and it would not appease the audience. Like, you have to just expect that and understand that. You're not going to be firing on all cylinders. Things aren't going to be executed exactly the way you want them. You can't micromanage everything. You have to let the talent breathe. You have to also especially focus on the bigger storylines because they are a bigger focal point for the audience. And a lot of what sells your PLEs are the actual main events. So, all these things, multiple priorities pulling at you, not easy. Not easy. It's easy for a fan to sit back like me and you and everybody. Hell, it's easy to sit and criticize. But the harder question is, what would you do differently that would make this better? That's a more difficult question. To really think it through and not just knee-jerk, I'd have this person win. It's like, okay, well, why? Okay, well, we're trying to do this down the road. Why would you do that now? Like, we don't know WWE's future plans, so it's easy to sit in armchair quarterback. Sure. That's what, I'm not saying that's bad, Jeff. For me, anybody, that's what we do. We're fans. You know why we get to do that? Because we're paying customers. We have a right. We have a moral obligation to criticize when we don't like something because we are pouring our time and money into this company. All of us are. Right now you are listening to this instead of listening to something else. So anybody that just gets annoyed when you criticize the company and says, I don't want any negativity. They just don't want to hear reality. I'm a realist. So, all right. Thank you. Boy, oh boy, we got more You guys think we're just getting started on this. This is crazy. Let's talk to Kay. And Kay says, thought this week I would make some comments on what's going on. Not going to be in any order, as WWE has made clear, and you go and do anything Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. Okay, so Reigns, Punk, and Rollins are the true pros in and out of the ring. Tiffany, who's your favorite, versus Charlotte. I love how they were really investing in Tiffany and treating her right to properly build the character. Okay, well, you are in the opposite camp from a lot of us, or a lot of the listeners anyway, from the build perspective of Tiffy versus Charlotte. Orton and Owens and Drew and Priest are good old time vicious brawls. Yeah, I haven't really mentioned much about Randy and KO. They are up there for me. I mean, they are in the top 3 matches that I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, that's been you know what? I don't think Orton and Randy is getting enough attention. I really don't. They are on a hell of a tear right now. I love their build. And to go back to, I think, DJ, did you bring it up earlier about the 2 nights of WrestleMania? Is it still necessary? Is it necessary? No. I don't think it's not necessary. They don't have to do it. In fact, I would actually argue that you should make it one night, only 6-7 matches, and let the best cards fall where they may. In other words, people have to really earn it to get on the show. That's what it should be, because we're told it's the Super Bowl of wrestling. Well, if it's the Super Bowl of wrestling, that means not everybody gets a jersey to play that night. In fact, fewer jerseys, because only the best of the best come out. But it's treated like the opposite. Everybody seemingly gets a jersey to play. Here's the thing, though. Do they need to do it? No. Will they continue to do it? Yes. Why? Money is one. It does also allow talents to participate on WrestleMania that otherwise wouldn't get an opportunity. Absolutely. There's that. But primarily money. Because if they can sell 2 tickets for WrestleMania instead of 1, they're going to do it. They have to rent the building for 2 nights, sure, but they'll make up for it, more than make up for it, with their gate, merch, network, sponsorships. They'll more than make up for it. So instead of just 1 night of massive revenue, they get 2. The 2-night format is going nowhere. Look at what they're doing to SummerSlam. That's going to be a 2-night event. I don't think they're not going to do that to every PLE, though. And Triple H even said that. That would make no sense. I don't want 2 nights for a payback event. Imagine Backlash being 2 nights. Hell no. So, Chelsea Green and her operatives are gold. Such a silly and fun story. I would agree. Chad Gable in the mask is so absurd it's good. Best gimmick he's had. Braun Breaker's fabulous. Definitely the next big thing. The new Stone Cold. I don't know about the new Stone Cold. Braun Breaker he's getting the organic support of the fans because he's a legit badass and he's young and fans love young upcoming talent that they can see a big star in, i.e. Jacob Fatu. Braun Breaker's on that level. I would agree that Braun Breaker is going to be a big star, but Stone Cold level, I don't know if anyone will reach that again. This is the best way I can compliment him. He never burned the longest, but he burned the hottest. He never made it as long as The Rock. He never made it as long as Triple H. He never made it as long as certainly The Undertaker. But he burned hotter than anyone ever has in the history of pro wrestling for the short time he did. I think he was hotter than Hogan. Even at Hogan's best. Even at Hogan's highest. And that's saying something. Hogan, in his own right, was a generational talent. But Stone Cold, no one burned hotter. I think because it's been so long now since Austin was at the forefront of every storyline, people forget how incredibly popular he was. It was insane. Living through 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, the 4 years or so he was there, actively anyway, in an in-ring capacity at the top of his game, before he retired in 2003 in Seattle against The Rock. It was incredible to be a part of. and nobody. I mean, just nobody. You want also just a metric beyond just how I feel that was the hottest? Because feeling obviously is not something you can really measure. Ratings at that time were never higher, and it will have never come anywhere near since. More eyeballs were watching Monday Night Raw than any other time in the company's history. And a major part of that, not all of it, but a major part was because of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay, the tag team divisions bore me at the moment. Yeah, well, they rarely ever excite me, I have to say, because of the way they treat tag team divisions generally. The Women's Intercontinental Championship is not much better, although I like Lyra. Bring on Alexa. Yeah, Alexa's MIA. Along with the Wyatt Six. We don't know. The Jade nonsense has gone on a bit too long. I can't buy into Gunther and Jay, although Gunther's great. Women's three-way now. Bianca, Io, and Rhea is just a rehash yet again. And finally, Cena, hurry up and leave and bring Cody with you. Had too much already, and it's still in March. Thank you for all your work. Cheers from Toronto. Thank you, Kay. Let's see. Let's go to... where do I want to go? Let's go to Stevie G. And he says, I have to wonder, what's going on with Solo Sikoa in WrestleMania? I didn't realize it till it was out into words in front of me that this year would make 3 consecutive years where Solo Sikoa does not compete in any capacity at the biggest PLE of the year. It felt like Solo was being given a well-deserved push to the top of the mountain during the Tribal Chief story, and it felt like he had all but booked a title match with Cody until Roman returned and the Ulafala was the main focus. Now it seems like Solo is not only 10 feet further than me from a title shot, but has even taken a backseat in his own faction to Jacob Fatu. Did I miss something? Is he dealing with injuries? Why does it feel like there's a massive regression in his push? With only a few weeks from WrestleMania, do you think there's time for a story to come to fruition and have him placed in the ring for a match? I was convinced he and Fatu would be facing each other, which still seems possible, but could also see Fatu being involved in a U.S. title bout in some way. Just curious if your thoughts. Also, I would absolutely love a live show. I love call-in shows. You've done a great job with your show. I feel like you would be doing a show of great service by setting that up. Well, thank you, Stevie. And you're responding to my question I asked about you, just generally the audience of, would you like me to do live shows? And it seemingly, Stevie, or Steve, I'll call you, I'm not sure which one you prefer, but you and others have been pretty positive in that direction of you'd like live shows. So I may do that. I ask because I do have to dedicate time to it, but also it's not a cheap service for me to do. That's all. It's like money, so that's a factor. All right. Well, Steve, I would say that Solo Sikoa is being, I think, groomed for a turn on Fatu. I mean, you hit it on the head. Is he going to have a match? No. But is he going to have a big impact in the match? Yes. I mean, Solo Sikoa is the prime reason that Cody didn't win at WrestleMania 39 against Roman Reigns, if you remember that. He's had some massive impacts on top of interfering in last year's WrestleMania main event. So he's got spotlight in the biggest possible slot of the show. He just hasn't gotten his own match. And it is kind of crazy, given the fact of where he's been in the position of regenerating the Bloodline 2.0. Then the Ulafalo just completely that neutered him. That neutered Solo Sikoa. The tension with he and Fatu is the focal point right now. And I think it's going to turn Solo heel while Fatu goes babyface. Because the fans are ready to embrace Jacob anyway. They're already doing it. So that's where I think they're headed for now. But I don't think Solo's going to be involved in an actual match. I could be wrong. But it doesn't seem like they're headed that way. It seems like they could have Solo be in another interference role to screw Fatu at WrestleMania. That's my guess. Thank you. All right. Let's go to, our first mailbag. This is from Mexico. I'm not even going to... let me try to pronounce this. This is going to be... Again, you guys must be doing this on purpose to try to see how embarrassing I can be to try to pronounce things. So let's see if I can reach a new level of embarrassment. Ready for some secondhand embarrassment? Here we go. So the place of where this is from, Mexico, this is from Chihuahua. Chihuahua. I'm not even kidding. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm laughing at myself because I can't pronounce it correctly. It's Chihua. Hua. Chihuahua? I don't know. I feel like I'm being punked. Anyway, I apologize, Hector. I'm just going to say you're from Mexico. I should have just led with that. I saw El Grande Americano. I had to reach out. Love the character, using AI videos and being from the Gulf of America. I think you said gold, but I'm guessing you mean Gulf of America. That is such a thing Chad would do. It was amazing. I noticed people being offended by it, which means Chad is doing a great job. Also, proud and happy to see Penta doing so well in WWE. I do hope he has a good singles run before they pair him with his brother. Glad to see a luchador that came from probably the most dangerous neighborhood in Mexico to the big leagues. One last thing. John Cena, WWE champion versus CM Punk at WrestleMania. At Money in the Bank. Cena wins, leaves through the crowd, blowing a kiss at Punk. Ooh. I like that, Hector. Reversing the roles of the infamous 2011 Money in the Bank matchup that they had where Punk did the same thing to him in Chicago and left with the belt. I like that. That's a very, very clever long-term booking match. But as far as your statement about Grande Americano, so you're from Mexico. Mexico has a long history of wrestling, luchador style, obviously. Proud history. And with how much respect the people of Mexico have for luchador wrestling, you are watching somebody who is mimicking that in a American colored attire, and you're not offended. In fact, you applaud it. And now we, at least from a lot of people's perspectives, are supposed to feel offended by it. In fact, we are not having the correct reaction. We should all be offended by this. This is a sign of the culture today. That's all. It's a reflection of the norms and the values that a lot of people carry today. A lot of it driven by politics and politicians and their narratives and agendas that they have. At least that's how it's going here in the U.S. I can't speak for Mexico. But certainly, that's what this is. And I love that you, from Mexico, get to say that you're not offended. In fact, you love it. I do too. I went over this extensively on my review last Tuesday, I believe it was, for the Raw review, and people losing their minds on X about the fact that, it's offensive, and some podcasters, prominent podcasters, streamers were saying that, well, if my Latino friends are saying that they're offended, well, I'm going to get behind them, because apparently you're not able to form your own opinions and defend them. You have to rely on the approval of others. I hate that. That's such a weak. It's so weak. And it's so just, it's soft. And it just shows your insecurity to voice your own opinions without getting them pre-approved so you don't ruffle any feathers. Yeah, people can't stand anymore on their own 2 feet. You have an opinion. You speak your opinion. As long as you have reasoning for it and you stand by it, whether somebody disagrees with you or not, the more important thing is you have enough self-respect for yourself. Well, that's what self-respect is. No, but yeah, you have enough self-respect that you can defend your position. Why do you believe what you believe? That's the most important thing. And sticking by your guns. So anyway, thank you. All the way from Mexico, huh? I was just there. In Cancun. I was in Cancun. So I don't know if your place is... I'm guessing it's not in the hotel zone of Cancun. So All right. Let's see here. We got going to Tom. Tom says, a few thoughts. One thing I can guarantee, when Paul Heyman walks out of WrestleMania 41, he's walking out with the winner. In fact, the stipulation could be for the wise man, which is why I think Seth Rollins wins the match. I think Punk wants Heyman. He wants a match to get him, but Heyman screws over both Punk and Reigns and ends up joining the guy no one saw coming. That would be a swerve. Tom, absolutely that would be a swerve. It feels a little weird that men are fighting over a manager of which none of them need one. These aren't three up-and-coming guys that could use the rub of Paul Heyman or use him for a mouthpiece. All are more than capable of cutting really good promos, including Roman Reigns, who's done significant strides. He's made significant strides since the Big Dog days. But I really don't think I want... It's like having... Because we've seen this before, when female wrestlers or female managers are up for grabs. We've seen that before. But Paul Heyman's services... It'd feel weird to me because nobody needs him. No one needs him. They've been successful despite the fact that they haven't had him. So I don't know. I honestly don't like that. Now, don't get me wrong. That's a swerve, but what's the long-term plan here? That's all. That's my concern. So I'm not crapping on you, Tom. That swerve I never would see coming. I would agree with that, but is it the right decision is really the more important question. 2, Dom has been one of the best heels in the company, but it feels like we're at the end of his run. I think a babyface turn is coming against Finn and even Liv, who I think is recently aligned with Finn behind Dom's back. See, I could get behind that. We've had more than enough time booing Dom. More than enough. He could be the lovable loser now. We've booed him out of buildings for a couple of years now. He's played his part perfectly. He's had some iconic clips of him in the jail and his comments about running the cell blocks. And, basically he spent in storyline like 2 hours in a county jail and suddenly he's this hardened criminal. It's just classic stuff. He, visiting Rey Mysterio's father's house at Thanksgiving and just getting arrested. I mean, it's all just awesome. But I agree. I think it's about that time. 3, where's The Rock? Why is there no mention of him? I thought Cena turned face to become Rock's corporate champion, yet the last 2 weeks, it says if he doesn't exist and Cena turned heel for another reason. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I went over this earlier. It doesn't make sense. I understand he's not going to be there. Rock's not going to be there. But keep him alive in the story. Give us some kind of context or reason what The Rock's role in all of this was. That's the missing massive piece. I would agree. Cena said he turned heel because, he couldn't take us anymore. But what about The Rock? Why did he give you the directive at that moment? If it was just about the fans and not anything to do with The Rock, then why are we even having The Rock out there to have it happen when he's there anyway? You could have had The Rock not there and just done it. So it's weird. This is what I'm talking about, the weird build here. And lastly, I love Gunther, but please get him out of this storyline. It's beating a dead horse to death. I've never been less interested in a title match in my life. Maybe put Jay back with Jimmy because the tag team division is the worst I remember in WWE. It sounds crazy. I mean, that may not be the worst idea in the world. Gunther, and guys, this is where I just said we have to stand by our guns, and I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off by saying this, who are Jay Uso fans, and I am a Jay Uso fan. I've got nothing against him personally, professionally. I think he's overachieved in my mind, and I wish him nothing but success. I really do. I truly do. But Gunther feels like he's being brought down to face Jay. He's already beaten Jay multiple times recently. And so right off the bat, you're starting underground when it comes to building this feud. They've barely come up to the surface to get me or most of the fans interested in this. And it feels like Gunther could be doing much better. And it's just, I'm calling a spade a spade. Jay's a big star. Jay's successful. I do see him as a future champion, world champion one day. Absolutely. I do. I really do. But Gunther to me is on another level. He's a level above Jay. He just is. And it feels like Gunther's being brought down to make it look like Jay is equivalent to him. And it's not true. I don't buy it. They'll try to make me, force it down my throat and tell me I like it. But I don't buy it. Gunther feels like he should be facing a much bigger star. And his name is not Jey Uso. Sorry, Jay. I love you, buddy. Not that you listen to the show, but if you ever did, I'm pretending you are. That's what I would say to you. I really would. And he just doesn't feel he's on Gunther's level. And that's all the more reason to, light a fire under him, and all the more reason he's the underdog and a story to tell. It's like, no, he's not Daniel Bryan. Okay. He's not the underdog from the underground. He's a guy that hasn't, to me, fully reached that level of being a WrestleMania. He's not a WrestleMania main eventer right now, this year anyway. But he's not a WrestleMania title winner. So that's just my take too. And the tag team division it's in shambles. I agree. Tag team is in shambles. All right. I don't know if I already talked about, did I go through Matt? I think you might have been the first email yes. Well, maybe not. So, maybe I didn't. If I already did, read this email, I apologize. But Matt says, following your Raw review, I want to share a different view on what Cena may have been angling at with his comments about ruining wrestling and taking the belt and leaving. I don't think I read this. I don't think he was implying that WWE wouldn't create a new belt for the same figurative position, but that he's going to stop the lineage of the belt. If he wins and retires, there'll be no one who can beat him for the belt, so every champion after him will have an asterisk. He's effectively implying that he'll diminish the value of all future champions because deep down the fans will know that none of them truly became the man by beating the man. Okay. I mean, I see what you're saying, but that's John Cena's own doing, though. Fans will forget about that quickly. We've had double champions before. We've had people, lose the belt due to injury, and then, they never really lost it, and then they come back. So that's happened many times. I mean, it doesn't really matter why they're leaving. They could just win the belt and then get injured, and they're gone for 6 months. And so you can make the same claim that the person that wins the championship in their absence, did they really win it? Because the person that lost it didn't really lose it. And yeah, I mean, that claim, that happens I shouldn't say frequently. It happens every now and then. So it's the same thing, except not an injury, but rather seen as choosing to leave. But life goes on. Fans will go on. No one's sticking to the point of, remember 10 years ago when Randy Orton got injured as champion, or Finn Balor won the Universal Championship, and, he came back and he never competed for the belt again. And is this person really the real Universal Champion? No one's thinking about that. I see he's trying to piss off fans. I get it. But that also would mean that how is he going to do this? Like, now this is where The Rock could come in, because he's on the board of directors and he could be the one to say that that's what we're doing. And that's how John Cena has the ability to do this. But again, there's so many ways out of this. You could also say that the board has overridden The Rock, 5-2 or whatever the board numbers are, outvoting The Rock, that John Cena is effectively stripped of the championship. We've seen champions be stripped of their belts before. There, you're stripped. You did something dumb. We're stripping you of the championship, and it's vacant. We're putting it up for a tournament, whatever. So I totally get what you're saying. That's a better way to phrase it, but I still think there's large holes here. And I don't. To me, it would have been John Cena saying he should just brought back the spinner belt to piss us all off. That I'd buy. And we also know he's not going to do this number 4, whatever reason I'm at now, because he's got 6 months left in his run. He's not going to win at WrestleMania and then go away. Not going to happen. They're going to make use. He's got dates booked, publicly booked, out through December. So he's not going to do that. Anyway, thank you, man. No, I do appreciate that for the clarification. All right, that is the end of the voicemail or the emails, guys. I do have some voicemails, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save that for tomorrow's weekend review. Keep you guys hanging a little bit, but I'm also out of time here. But I'll put all the voicemails in tomorrow's weekend review, so it'll be a little bit of a combo episode, just all voicemails. I do appreciate everybody calling in, though, and emailing us. Mailbag at wwepodcast.com is the email, or you can join us on Patreon. Go ad-free. Everything is ad-free, including an exclusive After Dark show done by Luis Gonzalez. Awesome host. You guys should take a listen. And also, we have an ad-free experience on Apple, so check us out there. And I do appreciate everybody here. I'll be back tomorrow night, so you won't need to wait long for your weekend review. Until then, take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.